Today, the committee continues to look at why prescription drug costs are so high and what can be done to reduce them. I'd like to welcome all of our witnesses. Thank you for coming. These are top executives for major pharmacy benefit managers. Around this town, we refer to them as PBMs. Medicare prescription drug plans hire PBMs to manage Part D benefits. In Medicaid, state-managed care organizations also employ PBMs. We know that drug companies set the list price. Our February hearing with CEOs of major manufacturers focused on those high prices. We now, today, turn our attention to PBMs. These organizations negotiate with the drug companies as well as pharmacies to arrive at a price for a drug and its ultimate cost. This system of private entities negotiating is what I envisioned as an author of Part D program of Medicare. I still believe that this is absolutely the right approach. I oppose any effort to undo the non-interference clause currently in the statute. However, as this hearing indicates, it's our duty to understand how the system is working today and what we can do to improve it. In addition to negotiating prices, PBMs also determine what drugs are covered and what patients pay out of pocket. Despite this vast influence over what often amounts to life or death, many consumers have very little insight into the workings of PBMs. PBMs report rebates and other price concessions to the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services. But the statute severely restricts what can be done with that information. More transparency is needed. The current system is so opaque that it's easy to see why there are many questions about PBM's motives and practices. One question we must ask is whether or not PBMs prefer a high-cost drug with big rebates over a cheaper drug. Some even argue that PBMs force drug companies to raise their list price. Senator Wyden and I are investigating pricing and rebating practices related to insulin. This will help us more broadly determine whether PBMs and manufacturers today are focused on patients or their own bottom line. Mergers and vertical integration is another area that has increasingly prompted concern. All of the PBMs here today are owned by or affiliated with an insurance plan. In many cases, the combined company also owns pharmacies and other players in the health industry. It's important to look to see whether such integration actually helps patients and consumers or whether it just opens the door for anti-competitive activity. Last year, I sent a letter to the Federal Trade Commission, a letter on this very issue, and asked them to keep me apprised of their work. I'm putting my letter and the response in the record without objection. That will be included. I've realized that I've raised many issues. I look forward to hearing what the witnesses have to say, providing insight and helping us find solutions. Ranking Member Wyden and I are committed to working on a bipartisan basis to bring down the cost of drugs. Our next step is to work with committee members to develop policies to help Medicare and Medicaid patients and to protect the taxpayers. Senator White.